Now at noon, a big ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court today, clearing the way for President Trump to push forward with some of his campaign promises.
I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple.
What it means for immigration cases, and we'll also hear from Oregon's Attorney General, who says the state's fight against the president's policies isn't over yet. Also here at noon, 3 more protesters face charges stemming from violence outside the Portland ICE facility. That includes a woman who officers tased after she allegedly threw a knife at them.
What you gonna tase him for? What the you gonna tase him for?
We'll have more on the charges against her and what people who live in that neighborhood are saying about the protests. Then later, the sleight of hand tactics police say were used in a crime spree that spread from Seattle here to Portland.
Slipping one into their pocket or transferring it off to somebody else.
Details about the 2 women accused of stealing from jewelry stores and coin shops. Plus, call it the defense of a draft pick.
Very capable player, a very talented young man that has a very bright future.
We'll hear more from Blazers GM Joe Cronin talking about the team's newest 7-footer, a first-round selection in the NBA draft that nobody thought would go until round 2. KGW News at noon starts right now. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Drew Carney, and we start with the major ruling today from the U.S. Supreme Court that gives more power to the office of the president. More specifically, in this case, today's ruling will give President Trump a clearer path to implement his plan to end birthright citizenship. Now, that being said, the future of the interpretation of the 14th Amendment remains unclear. NBC's Alice Barr brings us more on this from Washington, D.C.
Hi there. The Supreme Court today issuing a major ruling that allows the Trump administration to take steps to enforce its controversial proposal to end automatic birthright citizenship for children born in the United States to parents who are undocumented immigrants. The ruling narrows the scope of what's known as nationwide injunctions to apply only to groups and individuals that sued.
The Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch.
Dealing a serious blow to the power of individual judges in lower courts to block policies across the whole country, something we've seen happen many times during the second Trump term.
In recent months, we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president.
In this case, that means that the birthright citizenship case can move forward in states that challenged it and in states that did not. The case never addressed the legal merits of overturning birthright citizenship outlined in the Constitution's 14th Amendment, focusing only on whether judges had the authority to put it on hold across the entire country. All 6 conservative justices agreed here. All 3 liberals dissented. And again, this ruling has wide-ranging implications for a whole series of other nationwide injunctions judges have issued against Trump administration policies throughout this year. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield weighed in on today's Supreme Court ruling, saying in part, quote, "The question of whether a president can unilaterally erase birthright citizenship is not resolved, and Oregon will continue fighting to make sure the answer is no." All right, we have a lot more local news headlines to get to this afternoon, but first we're going to check in with Rod Hill right there in the Weather Center. So Rod, here's the question. Have we moved past this morning's rain at this point?
Certainly moved past. Well, yes, if that's the question, because it's afternoon, so that's easy.
Oh, geez. Technicality? You're going to try to get away with a technicality?
We are dry right now, which I think is the answer Drew was wanting me to throw out there. But there's still reason to believe that there's at least a chance of some precipitation as we roll through the afternoon. This is a visible satellite picture. It's actually, see the dark? That's the lack of cloudiness. And the camera down near Newport at the end of Ottercrest does show sunny blue skies. But the rest of us, for the most part, are hanging on to the cloud cover. Salem escaped all of that morning drizzle that Portland had. It's been just simply cloudy and dry. Now you're up to 67 degrees. We had some shower activity out on the west side earlier, but now it's dry and 65 from the Reserve Vineyards and Golf Club in Aloha. The cloud deck has lifted. That has ended what was mist and drizzle this morning. and we are at 65 degrees. So moving forward, there's a little disturbance that's still trying to push inland into western Washington. So based on that rain shower that some of us had last evening, I'm going to say maybe there's another shower out there somewhere, but most of us will stay dry for the remainder of today. 72 at 4 o'clock, and I think we'll open up some increasing thin spots in the cloud cover as well. Weekend forecast, thumbs up, but it does get hot. That's coming up.
All right, Rod. Let's get back to our news headlines here. 3 more people face federal charges related to criminal activity near the Portland ICE facility. Federal officers tased one suspect after she allegedly threw a knife at them. The tasing was caught on camera. Here's KGW's Alma McCarty with more on what happened.
What you gonna tase him for?
Video shared with KGW shows Federal Protective Service officers following, then tasing a woman after they say she attempted to light an incendiary device, waved a large knife at them, and threw it at one of the officers. This escalation after federal officers dispensed things like gas canisters to disperse the crowd after 2 people tried to set an American flag on fire in the driveway.
Are you serious? Help them!
Crowds voicing their anger after all this went down right outside the ICE facility in South Portland late Tuesday night. Court documents name the woman as 46-year-old Julie Winters. She's charged with attempted assault of a federal officer, a felony, and made her first appearance on Thursday in federal court. According to federal prosecutors, 2 more people, 20-year-old Azeel Chambers and 28-year-old Rachel Pope, also made first appearances for misdemeanor offenses. Protesters we spoke with say the headlines and arrests aren't telling the full story.
This is literally a bunch of community members coming together and providing support for marginalized people. That's what they're not seeing.
And more often than not, the scene looks like this.
It's mutual aid, which I honestly thought that was Portland values. I thought that was the progressiveness of it. But I'm seeing it being criminalized.
To me, it looked like they were...
Neighbors like Mindan Okan have observed the interactions between federal agents and protesters for weeks.
Like, are we a third world country right now? Like, why are you, attacking civilians like that? And protesters. Like, I understand, there is a couple of protesters who get mad and do what they want to do. But don't take that away from the protesters who are peaceful.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
In other news this afternoon, a man in a wheelchair is in the hospital after getting hit by a car in southeast Portland. He is expected to survive, though. This happened late last night at Southeast 122nd and Market Street. Police say the driver stayed at the scene and cooperated with investigators. Now to the latest on the trial of former Trailblazers player Ben McLemore, who is charged with raping a woman at a house party in Lake Oswego. We do have a warning here that some of the testimony in this story is graphic. McLemore took the stand in his own defense yesterday, answering questions about the night of that party in 2021 at the home of former teammate Robert Covington. McLemore testified that he encountered the alleged victim in the bathroom after some of her friends asked him to help move her to a couch because she was intoxicated. McLemore said he later fell asleep and woke up on that same couch hours later with the woman's hands down his pants.
Fondling me and basically rousing me. So that's what pretty much woke me up. Again, I'm in deep sleep. So
McLemore says the sex was consensual. Prosecutors say the woman did not give consent. That's what this trial really comes down to at this point. Closing arguments in the trial are expected sometime next week. We also want to share this reminder. If you or someone you know is a victim of sexual assault, the National Sexual Assault Hotline is available 24 hours a day. That number is 800-656-HOPE. We have it right there on your screen. Again, it's 800-656-HOPE. Police believe 2 women are targeting jewelry stores and coin shops from here to Seattle using what investigators describe as sleight of hand tactics. On May 31st, surveillance images show the 2 women at a mall near Seattle in the Linwood area. That's where they're accused of taking a necklace worth more than $9,000. That's another look right there at the same 2 women who on that same day, police say, also stole $400 from a shop in Lakewood. And they're also accused of stealing a coin worth about $3,400 just a few days later right here in Portland.
selected different merchandise, and just through that transaction of checking the different merchandise, they are slipping one into their pocket or transferring it off to somebody else.
Anyone with information about the women or these crimes is asked to call the Linwood Police Department.